station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Hello, Houston. We are ready for the event.
Department of Health and Human Services, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is the Department of Health and Human Services. How do you hear me?
Hello, Department of Health and Human Services. Welcome aboard the International Space Station. We hear you loud and clear.
Amazing. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Christina Harder, and I'm the Executive Director of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition here at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Today, I'm here live in the HHS studio with Captain Paul Reed, the Director of the Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. Together, we will be interviewing two amazing NASA astronauts, International Space Station Commander Chris Cassidy and International Space Station Flight Engineer Dr. Kate Rubins, who are currently looking down at us here on Earth from the International Space Station. Commander Cassidy and Dr. Rubins, we are so honored and excited to talk with you both today. We know the two of you are veteran space travelers, so can you tell us how many times have you been to space and what are your roles for this current mission?
Well, great to connect with you, Christina, and thanks for taking your time to chat with us. This is my third mission. I flew once on a space shuttle in 2009, Soyuz mission 7 years ago, and then this is my second Soyuz mission and my third flight total. And for
Hey, it's great to talk to you. This is my second long-duration mission. My first was in 2016, and that was a little under 5 months on board the ISS, and I'm back again for another 6-month mission.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, we're so excited to talk to you guys. We have several questions from our team here at HHS. In addition to Boys and Girls Club of America youth ages 12 to 18 across the country, I'm going to kick things over to Captain Reed to go with our first question.
Commander Cassidy and Dr. Rubins, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. It truly is such an honor. As you both know, this has been quite a difficult and rather surprising year for all of us here on Earth, as well as up there in space, I imagine. And with the challenges of COVID-19, we have found that our mission at HHS and the President's Council to enhance the health and well-being of all Americans and to promote physical fitness and nutrition for all Americans has perhaps never been more important than it is now. We know that physical fitness, good nutrition, and attention to your mental health are critical to the success of the space mission as well. So we're excited to hear thoughts on these topics. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and start with one question. Commander Cassidy, what are the typical health preparations that every astronaut has to take while preparing to go into space?
Well, interestingly enough, we all go into a quarantine period roughly 2 weeks before. And ironically, I knew I was going to be in quarantine in March of 2020, like a year and a half before that date. I just didn't know that the whole world would be joining me in quarantine. And so leading up to that and entering quarantine right around that time, it didn't really affect my life. I think for Kate's training and preparation, I'll let her talk on that. It was a little bit different than normal, but we enter a strict quarantine protocol, like I said, 2 weeks, and for the launch, leading up to launch, we really don't want to bring any diseases up here, and we do a pretty good job of it. So our system is pretty robust.
Thank you. And
for my training flow,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, for my training flow, we were in quarantine pretty much the whole time. So there was a lot of things that we had to rethink, just like everybody else on Earth. How do we train astronauts remotely? We started using a lot of video conferencing platforms to do the rest of our training. And then we still do have a component of our training that's international. So we were very carefully traveling to different places and quarantining before and after travel each time. So it's actually kind of a relief to get to the space station and know that I'll be here essentially with the same people. We'll just have a very small group of humans up here for the next 6 months.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a couple questions from kids from the Boys and Girls Club of America. And the first question comes from someone named Zion in Kansas, who wants to know, when you are planning and training for space travel, what advice did you receive about dealing with loneliness while in space?
Well, Zion asks an interesting question there. And I've been on the U.S. side of the space station by myself for most of the 6 months. I have my two Russian colleagues down on their end of the space station, and we certainly see each other every day, all day. But I think they would say the same as I do. We don't really feel alone. We're very connected to the Mission Control Center, both in Moscow and Houston. We can talk to our families and friends by email and an occasional video conference with our families on the weekends. And so loneliness is not something that has been a part of my feelings over these 6 months. There's certain things that are nice to have, and I'm really happy to have Kate here just for socializing around the dinner table, for example, to help with activities that sometimes it's really super helpful to have an extra set of hands and that kind of thing. Sometimes when we are, in fact, alone, you have to think creatively on how to get your jobs done. When in space things are floating all around and two hands just sometimes isn't enough. But fortunately, loneliness hasn't been part of that equation.
That's very encouraging to hear. And I think similarly in what you alluded to, Commander Cassidy, I'd want to ask Dr. Rubins. Amir from Alabama wants to know how you deal with being away from your family, and also how often are you able to connect and talk to folks on Earth?
Yeah, thanks for the great question, Amir. It is really important for us to stay connected. And in the early days of Space Station, we had a lot less resources. We found that it was really hard for astronauts. They wouldn't have regular email, for example. But now we're quite connected, so we can actually use the internet to make phone calls to family and friends. And we have a video conference that we're able to do with our family and friends 1 day a week, usually on the weekend. So I think it's really important for the folks at home that are maybe living by themselves or that are isolated from their normal social support. Even if it feels a little awkward, it's actually great to just reach out, pick up the phone, have a video chat with somebody. There's a little bit of activation energy to starting it, but once you do build up that kind of social bonding, it always feels a lot better after you've talked to a friend, even when it's from space.
Yeah, those are terrific comments, and I think they probably resonate with a lot of people today, all over the world, frankly. In addition to taking care of your mental health in space, we know that taking care of your physical health is also very important. Dr. Rubins, Ciara from Florida wants to know, what happens when you get sick on the space station?
Yeah, that's a good question. We actually find that we really don't get sick very often here. First of all, getting sick from things like viruses is almost impossible because that requires other humans to transmit it. Like Chris said, we go into quarantine before we launch, and once you're up here, as long as we haven't brought any viruses with us, we're not going to catch anything. Sometimes when you launch to space, the first few days, all the fluid shifts to your head, and you don't feel quite like you do on Earth. Obviously, everything's just gone through a pretty amazing transformation, and we're floating. One of the things that I found is actually is the sooner I can, when I get up here, do a little bit of exercise, even if it's just some light, moderate running or some weightlifting. I start to feel like a normal human being again, and less like a space traveler who's just been hurled into planetary orbit. So I got on the exercise machine for the first time today, lifted some weights, and felt a whole lot better.
Wow, well, it sounds like we need to join you up in space right now. That's a good comment and a good segue into our next question. We know that obviously staying healthy is on everyone's mind right now in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you alluded to, good nutrition and regular physical activity are really key contributors to our overall health. I work with the President's Council on Sports Fitness and Nutrition, and we really have a special role in educating Americans on the benefits of physical activity and healthy eating. Commander Cassidy, given your background as a former Navy SEAL and your enthusiasm for physical fitness, this next question is for you. Jacqueline from Alabama wants to know, what is the most challenging part about physical training before you go to space?
Before we go to space, well, it's kind of to balance your life before getting to space gets very busy. I associate it with, like if you've ever been to a science museum and you see these experiments where a marble rolls around the funnel and then all of a sudden close to the end it starts really going fast as it gets to the bottom of the funnel. That's what life seems like as you approach launch date. You have all this time and then you just have less and less time. So I find that work life and physical fitness balance is a thing that we all have to strive for, and as astronauts it's no different than probably all the many viewers out there. And really prioritizing taking care of yourself, sleeping well, putting the right chow in your mouth, and getting some time on our exercise machines. Fortunately for us, we have a gym with strength coaches, and when we get assigned to a mission, we get assigned a strength coach, and that person kind of guides us through the preparation phase and then stays with us through the in-flight portion. So I have to give a shout out to Stacy, my strength and conditioning coach, and thank her for all her work and keeping me fit and strong while I'm in here and prior to.
I appreciate you both touching on how you stay in shape, both in advance of the mission. I think our viewers would love to hear a little bit more about how you stay in shape while on the mission. Obviously, you're in a very different environment where it might be very challenging to do this sort of athletics that you might otherwise do when you're on Earth.
Yeah, it seems like it would be really difficult because we're floating and most of our physical work on the ground is going against gravity. But NASA's actually been working on this problem for decades, and they have some really innovative solutions. So we have a lot of the things that you would see on Earth, and we figured out how to make them work up here. For example, we have a treadmill, and we use bungees. We use a harness and strap it down. It's kind of like wearing a backpack if you ever go backpacking. And we can actually use that force to pull us down onto the treadmill and go for what seems like a pretty normal run. We also have a bicycle up here. It's kind of like a spin bike. It just has no seat because you don't need to sit anywhere. But we can get a really good cardio workout on that. And then lastly, we both talked about the strength work that we do up here. So we can't lift weights because even a 600-pound bag, you can balance that on your finger. But we can work against vacuum. And so we have a device that looks like a regular Olympic lifting bar attached to a big platform. And we work against vacuum. We can dial that all the way up to more than 300 pounds if we want to lift or deadlift that much or squat that much. I haven't quite gotten there. I bet you Chris is probably pretty close at this point.
That is absolutely amazing. Do you guys have, really quickly on the physical fitness side, do you have a favorite workout in space?
Well, there's like she said, there's 3 machines, so it's not a ton of variety, but they do change up the program each day, and we're always lifting our legs because the primary thing is to keep our bones nice and dense and strong. And we've learned over the 20 years up here flying people on the space station that putting load on your bones, particularly your spine and your lower back and your bottom and your thighs, really goes a long way to mitigating the bone density loss. And I think over the years we almost have mitigated that problem with the program that we have. So my favorite workout is just getting on it and doing it. In fact, we were just talking about this at lunch. I prefer to not think about what I'm going to do, and I just go to there, and there's a workout on the computer screen, and I just dial the number to match what it says and do it. So for me, my favorite workout is the one I'm doing right now, and that's about as far as I can think in space.
I love it. I love that. Well, let's shift really quickly to nutrition because we had a lot of kids ask questions about food in space. And we know that obviously nutrition helps both during and before you go to space. It helps counteract some of the negative effects of space travel on your body, and it also helps you to maintain your overall health during the mission. So Commander Cassidy, or excuse me, Dr. Kate Rubins, will you tell us about what a typical meal in space looks like and whether the food is different from what you have here on Earth?
Yeah, that's a great question. Most of our meals in space would probably resemble things that you guys recognize on the ground. We have a good mix of fruit and vegetables. We try to make that the base of everything. We have some meats and some grain side dishes here. And of course we have dessert. That's also pretty important. But we have everything in space is usually dehydrated. So we fill pouches with water to rehydrate it, and it actually doesn't taste that bad. Sometimes we have to have irradiated meat, so they're sterilized before they come up, and that really helps the long shelf life. But by the time you warm it up and mix everything up, it tastes pretty much like a home-cooked meal. The one thing we really miss up here is fresh fruits and vegetables. So the dehydrated meals and the irradiated meals don't have that crunch to it. So if you're ever talking to somebody who doesn't like vegetables too much, just try going a month in space with no fresh vegetables, and suddenly that'll be your favorite food in the whole world. Like, we'd like nothing more than a big salad with tomatoes on it right now.
Amazing.
Yeah, terrific.
I think we're going to go just with one more question. Our time is coming to an end. Unfortunately, we could talk to you guys for hours, but I want to ask the last thing, which I think is a little bit more general, but it's a really important question from Haley in Colorado. How has your experience being in space changed how do you view life here on Earth?
Well, Haley, I think that you'd probably get this similar answer from any astronaut you ask, and that it really puts it in perspective that we right now are a crew of 6 on board a spaceship, and you're looking down at Earth, and you realize it's a crew of 7 billion on a spaceship Earth in the vastness of space, and that's how it changed me, realizing that each and every one of us are teammates, and up here we talk about expeditionary behavior, which is taking care of yourself, taking care of your teammate, your crewmate, doing your job, chipping in, helping out, and just being all around a good friend and a good person. And I think if we all did our part on the ground and thought of us as teammates, we could make great changes and progress, particularly in a challenging year like 2020. So for me, it's really put the teamwork part of all of us on Earth.
That is amazing and so encouraging. I think that's a really amazing message to hear for us here on Earth, and wishing that we were up there with you all in space. And I know that our time has come to a close. We've talked about a lot of important public health messages today about being physically active, about having good nutrition, staying connected with loved ones, taking care of your mental health. They're all important considerations, obviously, for us here on Earth, but also for you all in space. Commander Cassidy and Dr. Rubins, thank you both so much for taking the time to answer our questions and to share some fascinating insights about life on space. We learned so much from you guys. We really are very, very proud to have such amazing and innovative astronauts representing the United States, and we really do wish you a successful mission at the International Space Station and a very safe voyage on Earth. God bless you both.
Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you so much. It's been great to talk to you, and good luck with everything you're doing.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station. Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants from the Department of Health and Human Services. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.